Welcome to Scott's Boring Podcast. Right now we're doing a special series where I read through the book Rocked Up. This is kind of fun. It's kind of bootleg because it's not available right now. This is the only place you can hear it, and it's free. It's also kind of bootleg because you're only hearing the male perspective. How this book works is it goes chapter to chapter, female to male perspective. My wife wrote the female perspective and I wrote the male. Kind of fun. It's a light romantic comedy. And it's kind of fun. So we're in the middle of it right now, and if you just happened upon this podcast, you can go back and start at the beginning. Or if that's a bit much, and I understand if it is, you can just start right here. Why not? I'll tell you what. I'll get you caught up and tell you what you're about to get into. Now, if you've been following the story and you don't want to hear some idle chit-chat, just skip ahead a little bit. And there you go. So, where were we? What happened? Well, Lael, the young bass player, auditioned for the band, and then... And, well, she got the gig. So that was the last chapter. It was the auditions. It was kind of fun, right? I hope so. One thing about the last chapter is Jazz McKinnon was based off of Duff McKagan, the bass player of Guns N' Roses. Bruce Ross was based off of Les Claypool, the bassist of Primus. And the first character whom is escaping me for the moment. It's been a while, folks. I actually narrated this some time ago. I forget his name, but he was based off of the guy who was in Marilyn Manson and Perfect Circle. Geordie something. All right, moving along. Just a fun fact. So where are we headed? Well, we're going on tour. It's the awkward beginnings, perhaps. It's the day on the life of a tour for the band, and then in the perspective of the lead hero, Brad Snyder, the lead singer of the band. Him and Lael spend the day together. They play the show. There are some practical jokes that go back and forth, some light hazing, if you will. It's just a fun read, a fun listen. I hope you do. You're here now. You might as well stick around. Let's do it. All right? Let's do it right now. Let's get right into it today. Chapter 7 of the book, Rocked Up. Here we go.
You want me to count 3 or something like a movie?
I was never good at sleeping on the bus, especially when Arnie is driving. Arnie spent a great deal of his early 20s rally car driving, and he seems to think the I-5 is a racetrack. I much prefer our normal driver, who's the opposite of Arnie in every way. George is the calmest person I've ever met, and the bus seems to float along the highway when he's driving. But old Arnie's just flying along, yelling at cars as he passes them. Get off the road! Learn how to drive! The drive from Portland to San Francisco is 10 hours. Arnie splits the driving with George for the long trips, so we don't have to stop anywhere. We wouldn't be able to keep up this schedule otherwise. But I can't blame my insomnia entirely on Arnie's driving. I have a hard time winding down after any show. My adrenaline doesn't seem to switch off when I step off the stage. Instead, it lingers like an idling race car engine. Maybe like those cars that Arnie used to race. It rumbles long in my chest as I lie on my bunk and watch the dark Oregon forest pass by. Switch is snoring along. If he wasn't such a great guy to be in a band with, it would be a deal breaker. I take his snoring like he's showing off. Boasting how he can easily sleep on this bus. I go through an internal emotional journey until I can't take it anymore and I consider punching him right in his rumbling nose. Then the tone of his snoring changes, and I feel like he's making maybe a little effort to keep it down. He doesn't know how close he came. Calvy's showing off too. That bastard. This one actually smiles like a weirdo while he sleeps. We could have had the worst day of our lives, and the bus could be on fire, and that smug bastard would smile away in his slumber. Sometimes, he even giggles in his sleep. Though he says he doesn't remember what he's dreaming about. I think he's just laughing at my insomnia. I've been trying not to stare at Lael ever since she joined us on our bus. She's created a happy little home within the confines of her tiny space of her bunk. Right now, she's wrapped up perfectly in a blanket that she brought with her, her phone lying next to her like a loyal companion. Her purse is tucked in the corner by her feet, and a notebook and some magazines are under her pillow. I have to admit, she's hard not to stare at. She has my full attention more and more these days. I trace the lines of her lips, the curve of her nose, her eyebrows, her chin. I barely blink as I take her in. That race car in my chest turns off its engine. I hold her in my gaze and I feel calm. She slowly opens her eyes and looks over at me as if she knows I've been watching her. I don't look away. We share a moment, our heads resting on our pillows as we look at one another. She smiles. I sleep. I feel like I merely blink, but somehow it's morning. And judging by the colorful buildings I can see out of the window of our parked bus, I know we've arrived at our destination. I sit up and rub my eyes. Lael's bed is made up and one of her duffel bags is in the corner. The other two bunks are left in a twisted mess. I've always liked San Francisco. The sky, when you can see it, is a different shade of blue, and the ocean air always feels clean. Today it's sunny, and considering it's mid-December, the sun feels warm. I don't always mind the bus, but sometimes a hotel room and a hot shower is in order. And I'm at that point. "Morning, young man," Arnie says as he climbs up the narrow steps into the bus. He offers me a very large coffee and a familiar piece of paper. Our itinerary for the day. "You're a good man, Arnie." I respond and take the coffee and the sheet of paper, glancing at it. 9 a.m., interview at 865 Battery Street. Live 105 radio show. 11 a.m., hotel check-in, 181 3rd Street, West Hotel. 12 p.m., lunch with app designer. 1:30 p.m., band meeting and rehearsal at venue, Warfield Theater, 982 Marker Street. 2:30, interview with full band, Rolling Stone magazine. 3 p.m., meet and greet with VIP ticket holders. 3:30 p.m., sound check. 6 p.m., dinner at Boulevard Restaurant, 1 Mission Street. 7 p.m., wardrobe. 7:30 p.m., group video message for And Then Fan Club website streaming. 8 p.m., meet and greet with VIP Elite Plus members. 9 p.m., showtime. After party, Kirk Hammett's house. I look over my morning orders, rolling my eyes and shaking my head at each of them. Lunch with an app designer? I question. "Don't you remember? The Brad Snyder app? They get a notification every time you take a piss," Arnie answers. "Is there really an after party at Kirk Hammett's house? I mean, the Kirk Hammett? Guitarist from Metallica?" I ask. "Yeah, mate. I guess he's a fan. He invited you and the boys over. You know, he's a collector of horror memorabilia, and his house is like a museum, full of the shit." "Really?" "Really. Now, let's stick to the schedule today. No flaking off, especially for the interviews. The other turkeys have started their day. Time for you to get on with it. There's a driver waiting outside to shuttle you around. I'll leave you to it. Meet you at the Warfield after lunch." Arnie leaves the bus like he's late for something. I know it can't be easy for him, keeping track of all of this. It would all fall apart in a minute if it weren't for him, herding us around like we're cats. I rummage through my storage space and find some clean clothes, quickly wash up, and step out of the bus with coffee in hand, squinting at the morning sun. "Mr. Snyder?" A rather short man with a middle-aged face and the body of a boy is standing next to a black Suburban. My driver. "Hello." I greet him and smile and step into the vehicle. I can barely see him from the back seat, so I'm concerned that he can't see over the dashboard. His small hand reaches up to adjust the rearview mirror, and my eyes meet his. "Okay, Mr. Snyder, first stop, 865 Battery Street. Away we go." We pull away and I stare out the window, sipping my hot coffee. This will be a fairly standard day, save the party at Kirk Hammett's house, which sounds completely unreal. I've learned to take things one step at a time. I tend to be a good boy and do all that's asked of me, but occasionally, I put the itinerary in the wastebasket and disappear for the day, and only show up when it's showtime. I wish today was one of those days, but I'll push on. I especially consider flaking off when it comes to the first stop. I hate morning radio shows. It's nothing worse than the fake enthusiasm and all those sound effects. I guess the only good thing is there's never any curveballs. All the questions are standard. A couple call-in questions from listeners that have been screened, and some fake laughter, and you're done. The Suburban is at a stop due to heavy traffic. We're only a few blocks away from where we started. My driver has his attention on the GPS, where he's looking for a better route. Don't worry, Mr. Snyder, we'll get you there on time. I wasn't worried. I try to worry as little as possible. I'm content just people watching out of the tinted windows of the confines of this Suburban. Then I see Leia walking towards the bus, her hair tied under her hat, large vintage sunglasses covering half her face. I roll down the window and shout to get her attention. Leia! She smiles when she sees me and walks towards the stopped vehicle. Good morning, Brad, she says, polite as always. Even though I've slowly been getting to know her better, I still get the impression that she's not letting her guard down around me. Not that I blame her. She is, after all, Ronald's daughter. So what does your day look like? I ask her out of curiosity. Just gonna take it easy. Maybe use the gym at the hotel if I can't stop being so lazy. Take it easy? I raise my itinerary. You didn't get one of these? No. Arnie just told me to meet at the venue at 1:30. Well, it doesn't seem fair that the new kid gets the day off while I'm running around town alone. Care to join me? We can get through this together. I smile and she gives me a cautious smile back, mulling it over. I open the door. Come on. Lael slides in and I give her the itinerary to peruse. She looks it over and her eyebrows raise. Kirk Hammett? She asks. We share a laugh and before long, we're moving again. We arrive at the radio station just in time. Everyone that works there is fake smiling and completely obnoxious in their excessive energy. It was an easy interview in the end, but it wasn't without some annoyances. When Lael and I first walked into the studio and put our headphones on, the DJ, Stuntman Jim, made a comment about my girlfriend being too young for me. I corrected him and introduced Lael as a new bass player, but his opening remarks lingered in my mind for the entire broadcast. When I'm asked at the end to do some sound bites for the radio station, I tell them that Lael will do it instead. There was a time I got a thrill out of doing these live interviews, but that enthusiasm has long since gone. But watching Lael's excitement is refreshing and fun. It's like a parent seeing Christmas again through their child's eyes. She does more takes than anyone should. Her nerves are getting the best of her, while the jackasses at the radio station increasingly lose patience. Even their fake perma-smiles stop while our laughing increases until Lael and I have tears in her eyes. Finally, she nails it down so we can move on. This is Lael Ramsey, the new bassist of And Then, and you are listening to Live 105. We laugh at the ridiculousness of the moment, and just like that, the tone is set for the entire day. We find amusement in just about everything on our way back to the hotel. The wide-smiling receptionist, our little Italian driver. It's like we're kids on a field trip, amused solely by our own laughter. In the hotel lobby, we sign a few autographs and run into Switch. He's dressed in a leather jacket with fur collar and aviator sunglasses. Switch enjoys the attention and tries to goad the paparazzi into taking pictures of him every chance he gets. Hey man, what are you up to? I ask Hollywood Switch. I have an interview downtown. He answers, turning his head so a fan taking a picture with their phone gets his good side. Right on, who with? I ask a motion to Lael, who is walking by to wait for me. Costco, he says. I raise my eyebrows. Like, the store? Where you buy 6 packs of underwear? Yeah, dude. They have their own magazine. Alright, man. I'll see you later. Have fun with that. I walk with Lael to the elevator and head up to the top floor. All I could think about is a warm shower and a little downtime. Lael's room is directly across from mine, and as our backs are to each other putting in our room keys, I say, I hope you don't think you're done. I pause until she turns around and looks at me with an open expression. What's next in that silly list? Lael holds open the door with her foot while she takes the itinerary out of her pocket. Let's see. she says, looking it over. All right. You have lunch at noon to discuss a Brad Snyder app with an app designer. I bow my head, shaming at the concept. I think that's exactly what the world is missing, she says with a playful tone. A Brad Snyder app. We'll skip that one, I tell her quickly. I'll tell Arnie it's a no. Let's go to the wharf and get some chowder or something. Are you sure? Playing hooky seems awfully rock star of you. If the shoe fits. You in? Hell yeah. We both smile, somewhat still giddy from earlier. I find myself not wanting to say goodbye to Lael. Her face has a glow from all the laughing and the fresh air. And she looks beautiful. I wonder what would happen if I invited her into my room. For a moment, we stand there holding open our doors, letting the possibility hang in the air. It's subtle, but it's undeniable. Rest up, mister. I'll knock on your door in an hour, she says with a smile. Then she winks and disappears into her room. I stare at her closed door for a moment, and then go into mine. It's not long before I had a shower and freshened up, and the two of us are back out there. It's high noon on a sunny San Francisco day, and we're walking along the wharf looking for a place to have a bite. It's an odd moment for me. If it wasn't for the occasional looks I get from people who recognize me, I'd feel like I was just a normal guy sharing a sunny afternoon with a pretty girl. I have to say, it's interesting getting to know someone new. Even though Lael isn't exactly new, she just feels new to me. People will always surprise you if you let them. No one's exactly as they seem, and Lael's no exception to that. As we stroll along the busy walkway dodging strollers and tourists, Lael talks and talks, which is nice. It's a nice change of pace. It takes the pressure off of me. Just when I think she's run out of things to say, she just keeps on going. She's refreshingly open, the opposite of me. It covers her entire life, every relationship she's had, where she has been, where she wants to go, and her deep respect for Prince. I mean, look at Prince. He lived and breathed what he did. He nearly put an album out every single year, she says, totally passionate. His music is not what he did. It's who he was. Anyway, about my roommate, Christy. It takes some focus to follow her and her wayward trains of thought. But it's nice to see her so comfortable with me. I almost feel honored, though I have a feeling this is just the way she is. She finally takes a deep breath, and both of our attention goes to a very cinematic moment on a bench just in front of us. A very young girl is accepting an ice cream cone from her mother. Her smile and her star-shaped sunglasses catching the attention of everybody walking by. Aww. Lael clutches her chest, looking like she's in love with the scene. She looks at me with a big, silly smile. Can I have an ice cream too? After, I respond and point to the chowder joint just to our right. Real food first. The ice cream is real food, she protests. It's the only food. After some banter, we agree we'll have lunch and then ice cream after. We settle at a long table overlooking the small marina and the ferries heading out to Alcatraz and the other islands in the bay. Lael takes a breath and for a moment becomes self-aware. Am I talking too much? She asks. No, I answer truthfully. I'm actually enjoying her non-stop talking. She has an unusual approach that's entertaining. We sit side by side facing the water. Lael shows no sign of running out of things to talk about, so I make myself comfortable. I can't be sure if she notices that our legs are touching beneath the table, and the way that she's leaning into me is causing our arms to touch as well. I don't pull my arm or leg away. Rather, I slightly lean into her, drink my tea, and enjoy this very genuine moment I'm sharing with my new bass player. There's something about this perfect blue sky and the ocean air blowing in her familiar scent toward me that makes me want to take a mental picture. I'm definitely not one to pull out my phone and snap a photo, but once in a while, I like to make an effort not to let a moment pass me by. I like living in the now, taking everything in, and try to file it away wherever memories are kept. I'm doing that right now. What are you smiling at, Snyder? Lael asks with amusement. I don't answer her right away. I raise my hands innocently and try to come up with a response, but my mouth opens and the words fall out, skipping the filtration process. You. Am I making you smile, Mr. Snyder? She asks coyly. I clear my throat and nudge the conversation in a different direction. I was just thinking about the pranks the fellas have in store for you. I elaborate, hoping she buys it. What? She asks, her voice high-pitched with worry. What pranks? I don't know. Brad? Honestly, I don't know. I just thought I would give you a heads up so you at least have a chance. I say with a laugh. Lael grabs me by the collar and playfully pulls me toward her. I play along, pretending that she's hurting me. It's during this playful moment I notice the sniper with a camera taking our photo. I have no doubt he's been following us for some time. Lael turns her head to look at what's grabbing my attention, and in a moment, the mood has changed like someone flicked a switch. We don't say anything out loud, but we both know what those photos are going to look like. I place some money on the table. Come on, it's time we get out of here anyway. We make our way back to where the Suburban is waiting. Our driver quickly folds up his newspaper and we drive away, leaving the sneaky photographer behind. By the time we get to the venue, our mood is light again. I always have this irrational fear that no one will show up to the shows, but I notice some pedestrians wearing "and then" shirts and it gives me some relief. The Warfield, our driver announces. The security guard at the back entrance notices us right away and we are shown to the rehearsal room beneath the stage. The whole gang is there, as well as the usual unfamiliar faces. A small drum kit is in the corner and some amps line the wall. The mood is festive and the volume in the room is high with shouting conversations. Lael walks in first and the gang breaks into an applause. Her face turns a pretty shade of pink and she tries to play along, waving like she's a beauty queen. Little does she know, this is what the gang does every time you enter backstage. And I know this shtick, so I'm ready for it when I walk in behind Lael. The weirdos go from a loving applause to a resounding boo, pointing and hissing at me. I find my place in the room. Lael shakes her head, laughing at the bizarre welcomes. Hey Lael, Calvi says, walking over to her with a suspicious grin. Hey Calvi, she answers as she opens a beer. We were just playing a little game, check it out. Hey, Switch, show her how it's done, Calvi says. I know where this is going. Switch springs into action. He rolls a magazine into a funnel and sticks it under his belt. Then he puts a quarter on his forehead and looks up. Tilting his head forward, he drops a quarter into the rolled up magazine tucked into the front of his pants, and the room applauses. Looks easy enough, Lael says warily. Let's see you try it, Calvi says. You first. Calvi watches her for a second and then tucks the magazine funnel into his pants, tilts his head way back, bouncing the quarter on his forehead. Lael then reaches over and pours most of her beer into the magazine funnel. Ah! Calvi screams as the crotch of his pants darkens. The room erupts into hysterics. Dude, seriously? That stupid prank is all over the internet, Lael says as she shakes the last few drops at Calvi. You're gonna have to try harder than that. This ain't over, newbie. Calvi growls at her before he stalks off towards the restroom. We spend most of the rest of the time goofing around rather than rehearsing like we're supposed to. The interview with Rolling Stone magazine goes just as expected. Mostly they want to talk about the new lineup change and how that's going to affect things. They also want some dirt on Nick and some sound bites on the chicken incident, but we play it as diplomatic as ever. I have to say, I appreciate the tone the interviewer has with Lael. The world can sometimes feel like a boys' club and he doesn't make a note of her being an attractive young woman. Mostly, he and Lael speak about the unique sound that she has. She really does have a unique approach that's making our band sound different. Better even. The meet and greet is standard. Some quick conversations, a few pictures, signing a few things. There's a slight tension between Calvi and Lael from the earlier incident, and I could tell Calvi has something up his sleeve for revenge. Lael seems on guard when he's close. The theater is empty save the crew, the Rolling Stone interviewer who's scribbling something, and a small group of VIP ticket holders. It's a strange thing, looking at those empty seats. I always take the time to visualize things going well as I walk around the stage, strumming my guitar, making sure I could hear everything okay. While we're making a racket, tuning and adjusting, Lael's messing with the knobs on her teal pedal that I think will be the focal point of the Rolling Stone interview, the cause of her new signature sound. Test 1, 2. Okay, let's play something, I say into the microphone. Let's do Fuzz Face, Calvi says. I glance at my 3 bandmates and it looks like they're ready to go. Lael starts the song off, ringing out long, deep, rattling notes on her bass. Her eyes are closed, and she hits the bass with the side of her fist. I can tell it's for the benefit of the Rolling Stone guy who's watching her closely. Then, right on the beat, when we all jump in, right at that moment when Lael theatrically throws her long hair forward and slams her foot down on her pedal, an extremely loud fart noise rumbles out of the main speakers. My jaw drops open and I have to stifle a laugh. I didn't see that coming. Clearly, neither did Lael. Calvi falls over with tears in his eyes as Switch drops his sticks and hunches over laughing. Lael is in shock, frozen in a power stance with her foot on her fart pedal. The Rolling Stone guy is feverishly writing something in his pad. "You bastard!" Lael shouts, pointing at Calvi. "Okay, we're even now," Calvi says with a shrug. From behind the drum kit, Switch shouts, "Welcome to And Then."